All right, I call this Sawyer County Zoning Committee meeting to order. Kathy, can we have roll call, please?
Ron Buckholz.
Here.
Tweed Schuman.
Here.
Kay Wilson. Marshall Savitsky. Steve Carriennen.
All right, thank you. Number B, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, number C, Statement of Committee and Hearing Procedure and Statement of Hearing Notice. A full notice or a full statement of this committee hearing procedure document, including directions for individuals wishing to speak at a public hearing to be conducted at this zoning committee meeting, are available in the back of this room next to the agenda for today's meeting. The statement of committee and hearing procedure documents is hereby incorporated into the record for the committee meeting. Any public hearing conducted at today's committee meeting has been published as a Class 2 notice in accordance with Chapter 985 of the Wisconsin statutes, and then the Sawyer County Record and the Sawyer County Gazette as posted. All right, next one, number D, approval of the December 2024 minutes, please.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Carriennen.
I'll second that.
And a second by Mr. Savitsky to approve the minutes. All right, the public comment, I'm not gonna read the whole thing. Everybody knows that spiel. You know, just try to keep it to the 3 minutes.
First to have for public comment, Benjamin Kurtzwell.
Thank you, Benjamin Kurtzwell, 16040W West Lane. I am also the chairman for the town of Hayward, and that is a capacity that I'm here today. First of all, I just want the committee to know that there's been an ad hoc committee formed that's working with Jay to do some ordinance language changes, and that met yesterday for the first time. So just to let you know that's ongoing, and there may be stuff coming out of that in the future. The topic I'm here today about is an issue that I have in the town of Hayward. From what I understand, if someone owns a 5-acre parcel of F1 or A1 and they want to build on that parcel, they go to the county, they say they want to apply for a land use permit, and the county says you have to go to the town to get a special use permit to build on that parcel. From what I understand, then that applicant goes to the town with a site plan, the pending application, any kind of deeds they want on their, or restrictions, covenants on their deeds. And the town usually approves a special use permit and it goes back to the county. The county issues a land use permit. That's, from my understanding, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, that's a process that has been followed. Right now in the town of Hayward, there was an initial request for a blanket special use permit for a number of lots at one time. That has been withdrawn, and now the town of Hayward has been given 22 individual special use permits and are being expected to approve them all at one meeting with no corresponding land use permits, site plans, or anything. So there seems to be some discussion between the applicant and the town between what the law actually in the process is. And I am asking the zoning committee to either correct my misunderstanding of the process or perhaps give me something that, you know, to reaffirm that I am correct with that process of how a special use permit should be dealt with. So that's an ongoing issue I've had in the town of Hayward for a couple months, and it's coming to a head here in February. So I'm looking for some guidance from Sawyer County and especially the zoning committee about their feelings on a special use permit application on either F1 or A1. So thank you very much.
At that point, you'd probably want to bring that under any other new business that may become for the committee. So as part of the new business portion.
All right, thank you.
Next I have for public comment, Linda Zilmer.
Good morning, Linda Zilmer, resident of the Village of Birchwood, Edgewater property owner, and maybe following up on some of the previous comments from Mr. Kurzweil. The ad hoc committee was formed, as I understand it, from this side of the microphone, it should have been addressing the zoning processes as well as coming to some kind of agreement on zoning ordinance amendments that are needed. Back in July of this year, at one of the quarterly meetings of the Wisconsin Towns Association unit meetings, a letter was unanimously voted on to send to the county to seek more cooperation on coordinating the process between towns and the county for zoning matters. That is not part of what the committee ended up, the ad hoc committee ended up with as a directive. So I'm going to put it back on the zoning committee because really you're the ones that see on a monthly basis, both applicants and the neighbors who will come up to you and say, we had no way of knowing that there was a town meeting. So today in Hayward, you're going to have an applicant that knew nothing that the Hayward Plan Commission met on January 1st. You've heard it from neighbors before. So using January as an example, the first of the 2 required public notices appeared in the Sawyer County Record on January 1st. Most of us don't get that hard copy of the paper until Friday, Saturday. So unless you're watching online for that notice, you won't know. And if you're not even expecting anything, you won't know. It wasn't well until the next week that anything was posted on the county website as far as either the agenda or the supporting materials. So these towns are holding plan commission meetings and town board meetings, and the public is at a loss for what applicants are asking for or the information supporting it. I also think that, it started off with a deterioration of consideration for the applicants and their neighbors, and that opinion letters were removed from the notification process. And yet it still said that no letters were returned. Well, there are no letters to return. And then last night, listening again, there was a mention that, letters were read into the record, and they are not read into the record. So what started off as a process that is shortchanging the public is now shortchanging the towns as well, and it puts them in a bad light. Rezones are sent to the towns that really aren't appropriate. The SUP applications are being sent to the towns that aren't appropriate. The industrial rezone for signage at the hospital was not appropriate. And I know, thank you for your letting me go over, but please take this as a future agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to make public comment that is not as a specific agenda item? Seeing none and no one online, moving on to rezone applications. This is a public hearing in the town of Hayward, rezone number 25-001, owner Longtime Trust, part of the northeast one quarter of lot 1 of CSM number 1224, which is tax ID 12319. It is 0.45 total acres, owned residential 1. Also owner J. Anderson Enterprises LLC. This is as CSM number 1224, tax ID 12315. Which is 0.57 total acres, zone commercial 1. Purpose of the request is to rezone tax ID of 12319 of approximately 1,299 square feet to commercial 1, and then to rezone tax ID 12315 of approximately 1,572 square feet to R1. This would allow for a lot line to be swapped and changing of those lot lines. As part of my staff report, again, the purpose of the request is to basically relocate a property line. The applicants are working in conjunction to move some of the existing property lines around on these 2 adjacent lots. During a land use permit submittal for a new garage on tax ID 12319, it was observed that the size of the garage request would not fit on the lot desired in that location. At that point, the applicant began looking at other options, which included buying some additional land from the adjacent property owner. This land swap would be allowed for the compliant garage location. However, both parcels of land are zoned differently. And the only way for this potential land swap would be, to be completed, would to be to rezone those swapped portions of land. A preliminary survey map has been conducted which shows the square footage amounts for each swap. Again, the 1,299 square feet of land owned by Longtime would be subject to be rezoned from R1 to Commercial 1 and then sold to Anderson. And the 1,572 square feet currently owned by Anderson would be subject to be rezoned from Commercial 1 to Residential 1 and then be sold to Longtime. To, I guess, better clarify that, I'll show you maps here in a second. Town of Hayward Comprehensive Plan, future land use map of this area shows as low density residential. Primary intent of this classification is to identify areas suitable for future single family residential housing. The LDR areas are those lands in the Town of Hayward Comp Plan that are delineated as existing residential, vacant platted areas and proposed plats of 2 or more acres. The most appropriate Sawyer County zone districts for future use categories are R1, RR1, and RR2 zone district. Again, the request is occurring on existing developed lots where the main portion of the original zone districts are not changing. It would only be those small portions of land that are subject to the swap. Let me grab the packet here. Some. All right, so this one probably showcases the swap portion the best. So the original lots look like this. This is the portion of land owned by Longtime. This is the portion owned by Anderson. Anderson's right now is zoned Commercial 1. Longtime's is zoned R1. Again, the proposed lot line is kind of going right down the middle, but then there's these 2 triangular portions of land that are now subject to the rezone. So again, the orange portion is currently zoned Commercial, subject to go to R1. The green portion is currently zoned Residential 1, subject to go to Commercial. Per action of the town board, motion was approved. Benjamin Kurzweil, Chair, Gary Inhofe, Supervisor, Andrew Whitler, Supervisor, Brenda Detloff, Supervisor, and Carol Williamson via Zoom. As findings of facts, it encourages planned and orderly land use development and protects property values and the property tax base, signed Burnham Town Clerk. There were 7 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. We did receive 1 response back from a neighboring property. It was just pretty short. I will just read this one into record. As a neighbor of the adjoining property of tax ID 12316, I was sent the information above for the rezoning notice and public hearing. I am in support of this rezone request. Rob Hanson. That is all.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on rezone number 25-001. Please. Mr.
Yes,
Schulman.
sir, Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion. Then I got a question for Jay, so I'll wait till he.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Mr. Savitsky to go into public hearing on rezone number 25-001. All right, we're. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We are now in public hearing. Mr. Schuman, you got something
Yeah,
to say?
Jay, real quick. I know they share a driveway here. Is the driveway affected at all by this land swap?
That would be a question you probably would want to ask the applicant.
Okay.
I believe they're at this point sharing a joint driveway. Whether or not they have an easement agreement in place or if they're looking at doing an easement agreement or splitting the driveway. I think that's a good question for the applicant.
Okay, is the applicant here? You want to step forward and talk to the committee, please? State your name and address. for the
Steve Longtime, 16166W Deer Lane in Hayward. I'm looking at that. I think it is a shared driveway. And I think it'll just stay that way. I mean, things have never changed and me and the owner of the other property get along really well and we've traded a few things off and it's worked out well so far. So I think everything will just stay the same if it can.
I'll just make one mention. As part of the recording of that survey map, you do have the prelim right now. You may want to task your surveyor to include language for that easement. Because you and your neighbor may get along now, which is great, but if you
Right.
sell or they sell, that could be an issue. So
Yep.
you do want to get that as a
I
dedicated.
will talk to, Jesse Susans did the survey, so I will have him reword the language and he'll know where to go with the final stuff, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Do you have any questions for that?
Mr. Longtime.
Yes,
So this land swap is mainly so you can build a garage for that
Yes.
residence right there?
yes. So, yeah, we have a garage we're gonna put on there, but, I mean, if you look at the lot lines, they're kind of hideous
Yeah.
anyways. I mean, that angle cut right into ours and cut that corner of that garage, so nothing was really. So when I approached him, he was real responsive to doing it, and hey, he actually lost a little land to me, but it's worked out, so. Fine.
Good.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You betcha, thank you, appreciate it.
Is there anyone out there that would like to speak in favor of this rezone? Is there anyone out there that likes to speak in opposition of this rezone? Anybody online? Okay. If we have no more, I need a motion to come out of public hearing on rezone number 25-001, Mr. Savitsky.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Savitsky.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Schuman to come out of public hearing on rezone number 25-001. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action, Town of Hayward, rezone number 25-001, owner Longtime Trust and Anderson Enterprises LLC. Purpose of the request is to rezone approximately 1,299 square feet from commercial 1 to R1 and to rezone 1,572 square feet of R1 to commercial 1 to allow for a lot line to be changed for a land swap.
Okay, committee, turn it over to you.
Can we approve these both in one swap, Jay? Okay, I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the rezone number 24-001. 25-001. Is there anything in your staff report we need to include?
No, just the findings of fact.
Findings of facts 1 through 13.
Okay.
Motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Ms. Wilson to approve rezone number 25-001. Any more discussion? Not? Roll call, Kathy, please.
Yes, I just have one
Yeah, go
question.
ahead.
Did you say 1 through 13 or 1 through 14?
13.
13, okay, thank you. Ron Buckholz?
Yes.
Kay Wilson? Yeah. Tweed Schuman?
Yes.
Marshall Savitsky?
Yes.
Steve Carrianen?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor?
Thank you.
All right, moving on, this is a public hearing in the Town of Hayward, rezone number 25-003, owner William and Ashley Strable. This is part of the southeast one quarter, the southwest one quarter of Lot 1 of CSM number 3982, tax ID 13278, parcel 010-941-333408. It is 1.25 total acres zoned residential 1. Purpose of the request is a rezone from residential 1 to commercial 1 to have an equipment repair business. As part of my staff report, again, applicant is seeking a rezone for the entire land area, 1.25 acres from residential 1 to commercial 1. For an equipment repair business, the applicant has provided a synopsis relating to the proposed and anticipated use of the property, which is attached to the staff report. To summarize, the applicant would potentially build a new shop building with the proposed rezone, and the new shop building would serve as an equipment repair building. The equipment repair building would be primarily focusing on larger or heavy equipment such as skid steers, agricultural tractors, etc. The applicant is planning on relocating the existing shed on the property to the other side of the house to make room for the potential shop location. The nearest C1 parcel is approximately 675 feet away to the south, which is located in the town of Bass Lake. The nearest commercial zone property located in the town of Hayward is approximately 1,800 feet to the north. There are two other parcels or strips of land that are shown as C1 as part of the Sawyer County GIS or Beacon. These are two smaller strips that do not accurately represent the closest commercial 1 zone district. So the 675 feet distance should be used. The Town of Hayward Comprehensive Plan future land use maps of this area shows this area as commercial. According to the Town Comprehensive Plan, the primary intent of this classification is to identify areas suitable for planned commercial development. There are many existing nodes of commercial development throughout the town, primarily along US Highway 63, south of the city of Hayward, along County Highway B near Richardson's Bay and Lac-Courte and Lac-Courte Casino, and along Highway 77 east of the city of Hayward. The future land use category is planned for areas surrounding existing commercial nodes along County Highway B and US 63 and along State Highway 27 and 77 corridors. In accordance with the policies of the plan, the commercial development should be encouraged to locate near incorporated areas, existing business developments, or along collector or artillery roadways. When rezoning is requested, only that portion of land necessary for the completion shall be rezoned. While this wouldn't be viewed as spot zoning and it would align with the town comprehensive plan, the zoning committee should still consider that the rezone request from residential 1 to commercial 1 is within an area where it is currently primarily used as a residential area. I can show you additional maps here as well, but first we'll get into the town's decisions. I do have an additional handout if you'd like to. Did you give them copies of this one? Okay. As motioned by the town board, motion was denied. Denial from Benjamin Kurzweil, a denial from Carol Williamson, and a denial from Brenda Detloff. So a motion to deny 3-2 with the findings of facts that it does not promote the public health, safety, convenience, and general welfare, does not encourage planned and orderly land use development, does not protect property values and the property tax base. There were 9 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. We did receive 2 additional comments. With those 2 additional comments, both were in objection. Those comments were sent to the committee members. Did the committee members have a chance to review that information?
Yes.
Seeing the heads nodded from all committee members and 1 verbal acknowledgement from the chair, therefore be it those comments be incorporated into the record. That is all.
Okay, thank you. Now that Jay said that the town had denied this, we are still going to look at this in a public hearing setting. And we're going to go through with the process here.
Motion to go into public hearing, Chairman. And
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Schuman. And did you second, Marshall?
Sure.
And Marshall Savitsky has a second. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We are now in public hearing on rezone number 25-003. So is any of the applicants here? Step forward, please.
Hi, I'm Will Strable, and this is my wife Ashley Strable. We're at 9721 North State Highway 27 in Hayward. We are requesting the zone change. There is a handout that I believe everybody has on the board. If my wife could just show.
I got it.
Thanks, yes.
Here. Okay, you carry on.
The town denied our zone change to commercial. This change would have aligned our lot with a comprehensive plan, which designates future commercial use along the Highway 27 corridor. They denied this zone change by referencing inaccurate information, which resulted in false support in the findings of fact. The finding of fact number 1, the identified states, it does not promote the public health, safety, convenience, and general welfare. The town chair said he did not have concerns about the environmental safety of our plan. The handout provided describes how environmental pollution, such as fluid spills, will be prevented. This business will in fact be convenient for the residents and business owners in the Hayward area, as they will not have to travel as far or wait as long for equipment service work. Noise pollution from my business is not a concern because there is already consistent noise pollution from the highway throughout the day. This is not a quiet side road. The decibel levels of the loudest tools I use are no louder than the decibel levels of the traffic on the highway, according to a Federal Highway Administration publication. The town board had concerns that our lot is too small for this business because a town board member commented that a semi truck needs 80 to 100 feet to turn around. However, there is plenty of space to turn around with over 120 feet allocated in our driveway and parking area for semi traffic. The finding of fact number 2 they identified states, it does not encourage planned and orderly land use development. This rezone to commercial would have aligned our lot with a comprehensive plan, which designates future commercial use along the Highway 27 corridor. The town is ignoring their comprehensive plan by denying this zone change. The finding of fact number 3 they identified states, it does not protect the property values and the property tax base. A zone change to commercial has potential to increase the neighboring property values as it will open up the area to further commercial development as anticipated in the Town of Hayward Comprehensive Plan. The business itself will also contribute more tax dollar income to the community. We feel the Town of Hayward was unjustified to deny our zone change because the findings of facts were based off of biased and untruthful assumptions vocalized by board members. Thank you for this opportunity and for listening to my request. I would be pleased to answer any of your questions.
Okay, Mr. Kimball.
I got a question. Mr. Strabel,
Yes,
are you gonna have to improve or widen your driveway off 27 to get these trucks and trailers in there, or do you have a significant area people can pull in there?
so as far as the driveway would ideally be widened in order to accommodate for extra room to allow a safer transition into the property.
Because I know there's no turn lane there or anything, right?
Correct.
And that shop is already there, sir?
No, so that's according to the drawing here, the shop, that's the potential location for it.
Okay.
So currently there's a 24 by 20 foot accessory dwelling shed that will be moving to that north end of the property and then be building this 50 by 80 shop.
And you were present at the town meeting? Because it sounds like it was close vote. I was
Yes.
gonna ask their chairman to explain that, but, okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Savisky.
I went to that town meeting too, and it sounds like, I think Supervisor Inhofe brought up that like 90% of your work is service at another site. So
Correct.
is that a good percentage, you think?
Yes, currently I do mobile field service right now, and it's 100% at customer locations now. This would allow me to have a shop, so on the winter days that are cold, I can work inside. If there's a repair that needs to be performed that can't be performed in the field, I can bring it into the shop. And I would still maintain a mobile service aspect of the business, and the larger pieces of equipment and smaller ones, I would go to the customer sites to service.
Okay, Mr. Carey.
Have you contacted the state DOT regarding their plans for upgrading Highway 27 South in conjunction with your project?
I have not.
Just wondering if that would be a good idea, just to see, what that
What the
impact on the right of way, et cetera,
Right.
is.
and be able to plan accordingly with it.
I'm not really sure if you would even need to though, if he's able to turn a semi around inside the parking lot
Inside the
anyways, because
parking
2
lot.
lots down, there's a semi driver who parks a semi there every morning and leaves it run for a little bit before he gets going for the day and stuff, so.
Yeah.
I mean, if he can park his semi there, then I'm sure you can service one in your driveway too.
Yeah, it has to deal with where the road right of way is located. This is probably the best map I can grab right now, but if you're widening or changing the roadway within the road right of way, DOT is gonna have to give you approval. If you're
Okay.
widening your driveway on your own land, no additional approvals are needed.
So that small section between, basically where the driveway goes over the ditch line would have to be approved by the DOT.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. You got another question, Mr.
I do,
Kim?
Jade, so this is not considered spot zoning then? I think I heard you say that?
Correct. So as of right now, the next nearest commercial zone property is about 1/8 of a mile to the south. Now, there is no true distance definition of spot zoning. It's whether or not, is there, that other type of existing developmental pattern or that kind of existing zone district, in the immediate vicinity. What is immediate vicinity? Again, along the Highway 27 corridor, we have to the 1/8 of a mile to the south is owned by Sawyer County Housing Authority, which has, I believe it's 2 duplex apartment units. The lot further to the south of that is the Somewhere Else Bar and Grill. The property to the south of that is then Wilderness Walk. So there is some existing commercial developed area within that immediate vicinity. So I would not view that as spot zoning. I know there will be other questions for kind of, some legal analysis is, what the committee can do with the town denial. I don't know if you want to talk to her now or if that's something after public hearing you'd like to hear.
Well,
Yeah, I
one
was just
more-
thinking about that, but I would like to, when we go into discussion, I would like to have Rebecca's input on it so we are going in the right direction with this.
Sure.
So, Mark, we got something.
So then, was it a 2-3 vote in the town of Hayward? Is that what it was? I
Correct.
recall. What their planning and zoning commission say? Did it go to planning and zoning?
They approved that.
They approved it? Okay.
And it's consistent with their comprehensive plan in the town of Hayward?
It is what they have shown as part of their future land use maps. And that is shown as part of the staff report. Oh, I hate this thing so much.
Right.
So Town of Hayward, future land use maps, we're right in that location, right close to the town line there. And all along the west side of 27, they show as future commercial land use.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone out there that would like to speak in favor of this rezone? Okay,
Again, Benjamin Kurtzwell, 16040 West Lane, Chairman for the Town of Hayward. Yes, this went in front of the Planning Commission, and they voted to recommend approval to the town board. And the town board voted 3-2 to deny. Now, as I told the applicants to me, this was one of the toughest vote I've ever made in my short tenure. Okay? Yes, the comp plan says potential future commercial. I drove the property, and I'd be curious to ask Jay what the nearest one is to the north, because yes, there's stuff to the south that is a duplex, that's residential. I drove the highway, and the nearest commercial property I could see was Price Right Liquor to the north. I cannot speak for the motivations or determinations made by the other board members, but I will say, I looked at it as this is, we had the comp plan as potential commercial along this corridor, which, okay. In reality, it's a residential neighborhood now, and the lot does seem a little small for this venture. And again, once we rezone something commercial, and again, that opens up the door to a lot of other uses, not just this. I just want to speak about, again, the findings of fact. When the supervisor made a motion, there was a second, I asked for their findings of fact, and those are the 3 that they provided. The only one I'm going to speak to for sure here is the applicant's right. My main concern wasn't about chemicals or environmental stuff. The number 3, the property values, I'll just say this from my own experience as a property tax assessor, that first of all, commercial properties do not pay more property tax than anybody else. Okay, they pay the same rate as any residential property. So I don't understand that argument. And it really depends on the commercial business and what neighborhood it is as to the effect to the property values of neighbors. And to be honest, In most of my experience, I don't see a whole lot of property values increasing because of commercial values, or commercial buildings right in that neighborhood. I'm not saying they're going to decrease, but I don't see that increase. And I just want to clarify that if you have a commercial building next to a residential building in the town of Hayward, you're not paying more in property taxes. You're paying based on what your assessed values are, because you're both paying the same tax rate. So just want to clarify that too. Does anyone have any questions about how the town or anything about the town meetings or anything?
Oh, we're good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, does anyone else out there want to speak in favor of this rezone? Anyone out there want to speak in opposition of this rezone? Sir? State your name and address, please.
My name is Scott Schultz. Our address is 16084 West Anderson Road. We are the lot located directly south of the Strable lot on the corner of Anderson and 27. I've already submitted a letter to the board. I think you've all read it. I've summarized that letter far too many times already and don't have time to do that again. I'll focus on some of the findings of fact. Regarding number one, the town supported us and denied this motion or this rezone. I believe it's due to the fact that this threatens public health due to air pollution from diesel exhaust and the atmospheric inversion that exists in this area. Noise pollution from traffic into this business, plus the hammering and use of pneumatic drills and tools will negatively affect our neighborhood. And the argument that 27 is already noisy, so it's okay to add more noise, kind of makes no sense to me. If my finger hurts, that doesn't mean it's okay to smash my toe. As far as encouraging planned and orderly use of land, again, the area is primarily a long-standing residential area. The nearest viable commercial lot is 675 feet away, and there is no definition of spot zoning. This appears to be, in my mind, inserting a piece of commercial property in the middle of a residential home, residential area is disorderly. Ben addressed the property value issue. I also think regarding finding of fact, item number 4, permit the careful planning and efficient maintenance of highway systems. Diesel vehicles and trucks with trailers and semis entering this small lot will disrupt traffic on 27. Regarding number 7, encourage uses of land and other natural resources which are in accordance with their character and adaptability. The answer to that is no. The character of the area is residential. A commercial lot and with this business inserted, a commercial lot and this business are not compatible with this section of very peaceful residential area. Number 9, encourage the protection of groundwater resources. The potential for diesel and hydraulic spills and runoff presents a clear risk to all the residents of the area and the Namakagon River. It was discussed at the board meeting. Our water table is very high. It's only about 15 feet deep. Nearby are swamps and wetlands that are part of the golf course. If these resources are affected by this due to runoff, a vehicle pulling into his driveway and leaking, it's going to ruin the water table for a lot of people, and it ultimately will reach the Namakagon. To conserve soil, water, and forest resources. Again, no, the building slab will disrupt soil, and also there is a plan, or at least been discussion, that the driveway is going to be expanded, and whether he has room in his little turnaround right now, otherwise that's got to be expanded. That's going to disrupt soil and provide potential for water contamination. Protect the beauty and amenities of landscape and man-made developments. No, trees are going to be extensively removed for driveway expansion. The commercial building in the middle of a quiet neighborhood will be an eyesore. 13, provide healthy surroundings for family life. The air pollution, which I'm very concerned about because diesel exhaust is a carcinogen as defined by OSHA. It will harm the children in the area and the elderly in the area, including myself. The noise will disturb outdoor gatherings and family and gatherings with family and friends. Again, the town of Hayward has spoken and they do not support this. And I ask you guys to deny this zoning change. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. All right, does anyone else out there like to speak in opposition? Ms. Zilmer?
Linda Zilmer, resident of Birchwood, property owner in Edgewater. And I'm speaking to this one because it is difficult, in part. And it's an example of towns being presented with making decisions that probably should have had more thought into them before they went to the towns. And also, I don't know what you guys were all doing on January 1st, but I was getting ready to have a nice hot cup of tea and watch All Creatures Great and Small. And I got a phone call asking me questions about conditional use permits and zoning because there was a meeting going on. And I'm like, who the heck is holding a meeting on January 1st? And it was the Hayward Plan Commission. So I did zoom into the Hayward Town Board meeting to get up to date on things. And I think to a person, even the people who did not support this idea, really wish that this business does well, but that it is located in an area where it's more appropriate and where it has room to grow and expand. And they wish these young folks well, but it's not the right business in that place. So looking at a comprehensive plan map, it's a map, it is not a zoning ordinance. The area is zoned residential, not RR1 or RR2, but residential, and that is what it's developed as. So your residential zone district provides for 1 and 2 family year-round residential development protected from traffic hazards and the intrusion of incompatible land uses. If you go down to the conditional uses under residential, it says no use shall involve the repair or storage buildings. If you look at commercial, under permitted commercial uses, it's auto service stations and maintenance facilities. And then if you look at the industrial zone district, this district is intended to provide for manufacturing and industrial operations, which on the basis of actual physical and operational characteristics would not be detrimental to the surrounding areas by reason of smoke, noise, dust, odor, traffic, physical appearance, or industries requiring outdoor storage. Under a permitted use in industrial are welding shops, auto body shops, including auto repair. So applicants are coming in, they're relying on the guidance of the zoning department, and I really don't think that the type of business is a C1. And it was one of the people who had concerns, a town board member, expressed a lot of good findings of facts and additional concerns that did not make the list. But one of them is this really truly is more of an industrial use than a commercial use. And I think again, good and needed business, but it needs to be in a better place with room to grow. And this is not commercial, this is truly more industrial. So I think to deny the rezone in a residentially developed area is the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else want to speak in opposition of this rezone?
We didn't want to speak, but we want to.
Oh, yes. Do you want it read into the record?
Yeah, well, like I said, we're not happy with it. We live right next door.
So one more time, did you want me to read it into record?
You could.
Okay. This is from Ann Sharon. Do not want diesel shop built next door. Grandchildren play in yard in the environment. Concerns with noise should stay as a residential unit. Also, we never received letter from zoning issue request on this from Sawyer County. We live next door to the proposed use. I would like to confirm that. There was a letter sent to Dorothy Sharon at the 9743 State Highway 27, so. This one is from Dorothy Sharon. I do not want the shop built. I have small children. I'm sorry, I cannot read a lot of the handwriting. I have a small children and you know they are cruisers. I bought the property to get away from the noise. I'm sorry, I can't read the rest of it. Yeah. That is all.
Okay, anyone else out there want to speak in opposition of this rezone? Anyone have their hands up, Andy, or anything? Okay. All right, if not, I need a motion to come out of public hearing on rezone number 25-003. Mr. Schuman.
Motion to come out of public hearing, sir.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr.
Second.
Schuman, a second by Mr. Savitsky to come out of public hearing on rezone number 25-003. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action, the town of Hayward, rezone number 25-003, owner William and Ashley Strabel. Legal description is previously read into record. This request is to rezone 1.25 acres from residential 1 to commercial 1 to have an equipment repair business, which I viewed as a maintenance service facility as a permitted use in the commercial 1 zone district.
Okay, before we discuss this, I would like to hear from Rebecca, our legal counsel on this. So Rebecca, can you address this for us to make sure we go the right way?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Excuse me. I'll touch on briefly multiple legal issues that have presented themselves with respect to this rezone request. And if you've got follow-up questions on any one of those legal issues, I'm happy to go into more detail. The first legal issue, which is probably the most significant and what I think the commission is, or the committee is looking for direction on, is the fact that the town board denied the rezone. So within the statutes, there is a process in 5969 sub 5 sub E that allows a town to file an objection to a rezone when it comes to the county. So what your options are is you may take action on this request. You may approve it to go forward to the county board. The town is obligated to follow its process. I am legal counsel for the county. I would not give legal counsel to the town. That is something that is outside the scope of my ethical duties. And so even as we focus on cooperation between towns and the county on zoning matters, I cannot give the town legal advice. So I would encourage the town, if it wishes to proceed with its objection to this rezone, to follow that process and talk with the town's legal counsel. So again, with respect to the issue of the town denying the rezone, this committee may still move forward and make a recommendation one way or the other to approve or not. And, on this petition. So the committee is not foreclosed from making a recommendation, even though the town board voted to deny the rezone. Again, if there's more questions on that specific issue, I'm happy to help answer.
Question, Chairman. Rebecca Tweed here. I got a question. So if we were to deny it now because of the town's decision, could the town still file an objection and it come back to us?
No,
Okay.
At that point in time, I don't think it would be. See, and this is where I have to be careful. The question is whether it would be necessary for the town to file an objection. And that is determined by whether the county board loses jurisdiction over this determination, and even in light of a committee denial. So that's a more complicated question. If this committee denies the recommendation, it still could go to the board. But I think the practice has been that it doesn't go to the board based on that recommendation.
It would still go to the board. We would still move it forward to the board.
Yeah,
And it
okay.
would come as a recommendation of denial from the town, a recommendation of denial from the zoning committee, which I don't think I've ever seen one overturned by county board for that type of action, but we would still bring the process to final ratification.
And that is, that's again, a more nuanced legal question as to whether, and not to say that that's not an appropriate legal process. That process is just not specifically called out within the statutes. So I think that that is just fine, that it is practiced for a denial of this committee to continue on to the town board. So in light of the county's moving this forward to the county board, regardless of its determination, then I would think that the town would indeed want to file its objection. To answer your question, Mr. Schuman.
I would just make one other note that if this committee is inclined to make a recommendation of denial, specifically still go through the findings of facts on the merit of what you've heard here today in the public hearing, and not just state that we're denying because the town denied. You know, still spell out the findings of facts, if that is so your decision, so.
Okay, you understand where we're going, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you are absolutely right on that point. I would encourage the committee to do that as well. Keep in mind that this is a legislative decision, so you are granted broad discretion. However, given all of the circumstances in this case, it is still appropriate for you to have that robust discussion of what you've heard today. And one of the factors of consideration can be what the town action was. There's lots of other factors that you may wish to include in that discussion, which leads me to the next legal issue, which is the spot zoning question. It hasn't been touched on too much within the public hearing, but just know that the legal standard for spot zoning is that it's not illegal per se. So there's no blanket prohibition, but what this committee is tasked to look at is whether there is a general public benefit or a public interest in approving the rezone. Now, what's a public benefit? That could be a whole lot of things. It can be, you know, all of the factors that you've heard discussed today. It can be a public benefit of a business that's in need within the community. Public benefit can also be a public detriment. So all of the concerns that you've heard about the potential detriments of this use. So those are all things that you can consider within the legal question of spot zoning. Next legal issue is the comprehensive plan consistency. The legal standard is that the comprehensive plan is a guide and that it is not a determining factor in your decision. However, I will note that I know that it is often encouraged for the committee and the county to adhere to the town's comprehensive plan. So I would just encourage you to consider this discussion in future discussions when we're talking about comprehensive plan as well. And then finally, briefly on the DOT question, I would encourage the applicant to please contact DOT with respect to the access issues. Jay is generally correct in terms of what approvals will be needed for a driveway modification. However, there are many more layers within, excuse me, within the access policies at DOT when it comes to direct access to a state highway. I believe State Highway 27 is also a controlled access highway. And so even if you think that you may not have to modify any sort of driveway permit, I would encourage the applicant to contact DOT just basically because I've lived through many of those circumstances, and an owner can get everything properly teed up for its business and then suddenly it's foreclosed because of a driveway issue. So with that, those are the 4 legal issues I wanted to touch on. Again, I'm happy to go into more details if you have additional questions on any one of those.
Okay, committee, you okay with, you understand what's going on? Okay. So. No, Ben, we're not gonna go with that right now. I'm turning it over to the committee for their decision. I mean, we have to act on it, so somebody's gotta say something. Whether you're gonna approve it or deny it, it's still gonna go to the full county board for their decision. Huh?
Shouldn't,
No, we don't wanna table it, no.
unless there's additional information that's required that you're wanting the applicant to provide at a subsequent hearing.
There's a lot coming at you with this.
Yeah.
And you heard Rebecca on the legal part of it. And that's, put that as one of our concerns, and then whatever your finding of facts are, or denying or approving. Mr. Savitsky, you turn your light on and off?
I guess I'm just not seeing the biggest issue with it, I guess. Why would we send it back to the full county board? Only if we denied it today?
No,
Or even if
either
we
way.
approved it or
either way,
denied
it's
it?
gonna go to the full board for their approval.
Yeah.
So they're just
making the
looking for a recommendation from us,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I would make an emotion to approve this, and still send it to the county board with approval from the zoning board. With that, I say, you know, being on town in Bass Lake all these years, our planning and zoning, I've never voted against them because they're very hands-on, they dig deep, they look at everything that's needed, and if they approve or deny something, I look into what they said and I agree with them. I don't know exactly why the 5 town board members didn't really go with their planning and zoning committee. I can't speak on their behalf, such as Ben said, but I would think that their planning and zoning probably did dig pretty deep on this and look into it well. So I'd make a motion to send this to the full county board with approval.
Before we do a second, can you illustrate some of the findings of facts of why you make that motion? Just so we have a clean record?
So we got a handout from the applicant today. So, I mean, we want me to go through each 1 through 14?
The ones that apply to why you've reached a decision for a motion of approval. And if they don't meet the merits of, you know, the yes, no, you wouldn't even, you know, discuss them. Is really what it boils down to.
So you want me to discuss each one? Yes or no?
Right. So if you think, you know, let's say there was something with, promotes economical use of public funds. You don't even have to state that one because we didn't really discuss that at all while it, you know, as you reach your determination. So number 14 as part of that findings of facts, well, we have no evidence to support or deny that it would promote the efficient and economical use of public funds. So you wouldn't even list that as one of your findings of facts. So you don't have to even say number 14. So that's where you kind of want to go through these, you know, recognizes the needs of agricultural and forestry. You know, we didn't talk about that at all. It does say industrial and business and future growth, but does that make sense? Where if it doesn't meet the merits of the sniff test for the specific case, you wouldn't even want to use that as one of your findings of facts.
I mean, public health on number 1, number 10, the wetlands, number 11, conserve oil and water and forest resources. They did lay it out with barriers, trees and shrubs that exist around the property, the surface water drainage with gutters and everything else. I also believe that 90% of the work is not going to be done on this property anyway, so it'd be like anybody else's garage, in my opinion. They're going to install rain gardens with native flowering plants to catch rainwater runoff. Then number 2 is encourage planned and orderly land use development. It does follow the town of Hayward's comprehensive plan, the plan. Property values and tax base, I can't speak on behalf of that one. Not number 4. Number 6, recognize the needs of agriculture, forest and industry and business and future growth. It's good to have other options and new businesses come to the area. What was that? That's enough? That's enough.
All right.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Savitsky and a second by Mr. Kariainen to approve the rezone number 25-003. Any more discussion?
Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
Just for clarification purposes, I think it's good that the maker of the motion reference to those findings of fact, to give some more, definition to the basis for the motion. But keep in mind, as this committee makes its decision, you are, or you should be relying on all of the information in the record. So all of the information that you heard within the public hearing, all of the materials in your packet, including Jay's staff report, all of the information that you've heard just, in the last 5 minutes. Those are all part of your consideration. So yes, we have references to specific findings of fact, but this committee should make its determination on the whole record. So again, all of the things that you've heard as part of the proposal and presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve. Go ahead, Mr.
Well, regarding what Attorney Roker just said, does that include the handout for rezone request from the applicant? Is that part of the?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
distributed to you today.
Yes.
Yes, I think so.
And earlier.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it certainly does, because it was distributed as part of the public hearing. And that is the information that you certainly can consider and rely on in making your recommendation to the board.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Savitsky and a second by Mr. Kariainen to approve the rezone number 25-003.
One more discussion, if you don't
Go ahead,
mind.
Mr.
I mean, I feel this business is very much needed in this area. As a farmer and rancher, we have people that have to come to our farm and travel for miles to work on our equipment. The nearest place we can take them is Stone Lake, Bar H Implement, and that's difficult for us. I feel, like I said, this business is very much needed. I just do not totally agree with where it's going. That is a residential area, very familiar with that area. So I just want to state that before we vote.
Okay.
And I know it's going to the full county board, so it'll be reviewed there again.
Okay, thank you. All right, if no more discussion, roll call, Kathy.
Kay Wilson,
Yes.
Marshall Savitsky,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz,
No.
Steve Karianen,
Yes,
Tweed Schuman.
No.
3-2 is approved.
Okay, all right, thank you.
From kind of an orderly procedure, this will still then go to the full county board for ratification. It will come with at this point, a recommendation of denial from the town, a recommendation of approval from the zoning committee. And then there are specific state statutes in which the town, if they submit a resolution to the county clerk disapproving of the ratification of a zone district, and then that's filed in the orderly procedure and the timeframes as laid out in the statute, then the county cannot rezone the land. So there are still provisions within the town in which they can submit that resolution for non-ratification, I'll call it. Is that correct, Rebecca?
Yes, but I again want to clarify that this is an issue where the town needs to consult with its own legal counsel. Because this is an issue that the town should look at from its own legal perspective. Again, I understand there is the continued goal for improved cooperation between town and county, the towns and the county. However, this is one where the town needs to follow its own interpretation of the statutes. It is not appropriate for the county to be advising the town what to do in this situation. So again, I would just encourage the town to consult with its own counsel or whoever it wants to rely upon for that legal direction or interpretation of the statutes.
Wonderful. Moving on, conditional use permit. This is a public hearing in the town of Bass Lake, conditional use permit number 25-002. Owner Timothy and Sonia Miller. This is part of Avon Post Beach, lots 13 and lots 10 through 12, all of block 2. This is tax ID 41119, as well as 41113. Both properties are zoned residential recreational 1. Permit is desired for the construction of a 1,200 square foot garage with a maximum height of 18 feet in a platted subdivision across from a public roadway, which is Poplar Lane, from where the primary dwelling is located. This is as per the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 4.26, Parent 2. As part of my staff report, again, this permit is desired for the construction of an accessory structure across the town road within a platted subdivision. As per the ordinance requirements, the accessory structure cannot be constructed on that part of the parcel containing the principal structure due to an inability to meet setbacks. I myself, the zoning administrator, have confirmed that the lot containing the primary dwelling would not be able to fit the proposed accessory structure due to setbacks. On lakefront parcels, this may be allowed from an exemption of the 4.26 parent 2 parent A, which I just read. If the zoning committee determines in their findings of facts that the placement of the accessory structure on that adjacent parcel divided by a public roadway that does not contain the principal structure would lessen the impervious surface impacts to the lake. The structure on the non-lake side of from where it is being proposed would lessen the impervious impacts, the impervious surface impacts, in that the proposed new accessory structure would be approximately 245 feet away from the lake on a non-riparian lot. The proposed adjacent parcel is within 66 feet from the parcel containing the principal structure, is approximately 30 feet away. The proposed adjacent parcel meets the minimum requirements per the zone district standard. This is an existing non-conforming lot. The proposed structure would meet all applicable setbacks. Other conditional use permits of this nature have been approved in this area. We actually heard one, I believe it was 2 years ago, just a few lots down from this, and was approved. The conditional use permit may be approved by the zoning committee in any zone district, provided that the town has approved the conditional use permit. I do have approval from the town here as well. This is indicated as a condition of approval and has already been recorded. In a platted subdivision, which this is, the maximum size allowed is 1,200 square feet and the maximum height is 18 feet. The applicant at this point is requesting the maximum of both of those as indicated as part of their request. And then as part of a condition list that I have within my staff report, that no habitable area is allowed within the structure, no commercial use or operation is allowed within that structure. The size of the proposed accessory structure not to exceed 1,200 square feet and less than 18 feet in height. It does require that a deed restriction or restrictive covenants is recorded with the Register of Deeds so that parcels may not be sold separately. This has already been recorded as of October 11th, 2024, and then must follow all the other town, county, state, and federal laws, including conditions and additional town driveway permits. By action of the town board, motion was approved. Justin Hall, Chair, Marshall Savitsky, Supervisor, Dave Albrecht, Supervisor, Jim Evans, Supervisor, Don Adams, Supervisor. The conditional use would not be contrary to public interest and would be in the compliance with the spirit and the intent of the Sawyer County zoning ordinance and the town of Bass Lake comprehensive plan, because the establishment and maintenance of the operation of the conditional use will not be detrimental or endangering the public health, safety, comfort, and welfare, because it would not be damaging to the rights or others of property values. It would not be detrimental to ecology, wildlife, wetlands, or shorelands. It would not create an air quality, water supply, or pollution problem. Signed, Tammy Brown, Town Clerk. 15 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners within 300 feet. 2 comments were returned back to us, one with objections, one with no objections. This is from Anita Kemp as the Lakudere Band of Ojibwa Indians, as the Real Estate Service Land Management. The LCO Band of Ojibwa Indians has no issues with the approval of the conditional use permit as requested. This one was sent to the committee. This is short enough. I'm just going to read it back into record here. Permit is for the garage across from their home, which I'm not sure this is one with their home. We are neighboring landowners, and as you are aware, these lots are very small, and I was told that it could not be built on. As you can tell, we are opposing this permit. We do not want our lot even smaller. That is from Donna Porter. That is all.
Okay. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-002. Mr. Savitsky.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Schulman.
Second it, sir.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-002. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We are now in public hearing. Is the applicants here? You want to step forward? State your name and address for the record, please.
Our address up here,
Mailing address.
Mailing address, yeah.
Tim and Sonia Miller, 5135 Sunrise Ridge Trail, Middleton, Wisconsin.
Okay. Anything you want to tell the committee?
No, just a garage. Just place to store our stuff inside instead of
Okay.
littering up the lawn.
We didn't want you to have stage fright, so. Yeah. All right. Anybody have any questions for the, go ahead.
Do you have a garage with your building right now?
We do.
It's very small.
Okay. Any more questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone out there that wants to speak in favor of this CUP? Anyone out there want to speak in opposition of this CUP? If not, I need a motion to come out of CUP or on public hearing on CUP number 25-002. Mr. Schuman.
I'll make a motion and come out of public hearing.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Mr. Savitsky to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-002. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action, Town of Bass Lake, conditional use permit number 25-002, owner Timothy and Sonia Miller. Legal description is previously read into record. Request is, as per Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 4.26, Parent 2, for the location of an accessory structure across a public roadway within a platted subdivision. Please keep in mind while making a motion to reference my staff report containing the list of possible conditions as well as findings of facts.
Okay. All right, committee, turn it over to you.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve this CUP with the possible conditions 1 through 5, findings of facts 1 through 13.
Okay.
I'll
We have a
second that.
motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Savitsky? We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve CUP number 25-002 with the findings of facts in place. And then on Jay's staff report also. Any more discussion? Roll call, Kathy, please.
Kay Wilson,
Yes.
Marshall Savitsky,
Yes.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Steve Carrianen,
Yes.
Ron Buckles,
Yes.
all in favor. Thank you.
Moving on, this is a public hearing, the Town of Hunter conditional use permit number 25-001, owner Chip Camp LLC is part of the southeast one quarter, section 14. There are multiple tax IDs here. I'm gonna see if I can get through them all. Tax ID 41979. Tax, which is 6.05 acres. Tax ID 15458. and 15464, which is 17.55 acres and 1.165 acres. Tax ID 15499, 15501, 15502, 15506, 15510, and 15512. That is as 2.52 acres, 26.48 acres, 28.72 acres, 3.56 acres, 0.73 acres, 0.87 acres, all zoned residential recreational 2. This is a combined total of all land is approximately 87.5 acres. Permit is requested for 11 additional camping sites. This would be primarily located in tax ID 41979 and tax ID 15458. This would bring the total of all campsites within the licensed campground to 240 sites as per the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.8, Parent B, Parent 3. As part of my staff request or staff report, the purpose of the request is again to add an additional 11 sites for expansion onto an existing campground, which consists of 229 permitted sites for then a total of 240 sites. The Lake Chippewa Campground is Sawyer County's largest campground based on the number of sites. The majority of the campground has been in existence pre-zoning, which is pre-1968. Over the last several decades, the campground has undergone several expansions. The last record on file for expansion to the actual permitted number of sites was in 2010, when DATCAP had approved 229 sites. There does not appear to be any additional zoning history for the permitted number of sites, but per the 2010 DATCAP approval, one could argue that they would be considered grandfathered to the 229 sites. The current CUP request would not only solidify the existing 229 sites, but would also be for the increase of the additional 11 sites. Out of the existing 229 sites, some have been abandoned and relocated. As part of the CUP request, if approved, the applicant has included maps that are attached part of the packet for the committee's reference. These maps depict the existing 229 with the relocations and the additional requested 11 sites as shown as the primitive sites. I do believe there are plans that these primitive sites would end up having water hookup, and we do have a pending sanitary permit for the hookup of those additional 11 sites. Again, the newly requested sites would need to meet the requirements of 6.6 of the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D. This property as a whole and current campground operation is actually split between two zone districts as residential recreational 2 and forestry 1. Both zone districts do allow for a conditional use permit approval for a campground operation within those zone districts. So we're not having to rezone any additional land as part of that. The existing land use in this area includes a tribal-owned campground and restaurant to the southwest and a state of Wisconsin forestry land to the north, that land owned by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. There are no other residential houses within this immediate area. In conversations with the applicant, they are wanting to do the right thing and apply for the proper permits. The applicant was asked if they wanted to expand the request for more than just the 11 sites to provide for potential approval and prepare for additional expansion down the road. The applicant stated that just the 11 sites would be needed and no additional expansion is proposed at this point. As part of a list of potential conditions, these would be conditions that you would want to make sure that the applicant agrees upon. I do believe I had had conversations with the applicant and had shared with him my list of potential conditions, and he had indicated verbally via phone that he was agreeable to said conditions. Those would contain that campground be compliant with all requirements of Wisconsin Admin Code and ATCP 79 for campgrounds and food and lodging and recreation, that all other federal, state, county, town, local laws are followed. This would include the Sawyer County zoning conservation setback requirements from wetland areas, floodplains, and navigable water setbacks, that all permits, fees, campground plan approvals, and inspections required by the state and Department of Agricultural Trade and Consumer Protection must be obtained. The maximum number of sites of the campground limited to 240. For setbacks at any site, including but not limited to a camper, park model, trailer, tent, or seasonal, must be a minimum of 50 feet to an adjacent property line, that no mobile homes are allowed. Recreational accommodations included to but not limited to travel trailers, park models, campers, tents, and other approved camping cabins, that all wastewater and septic systems comply with Wisconsin Department of of Department of Safety and Professional Services and Sawyer County regulations. Currently, all proposed campsites within this conditional use permit would be as portable transfer tanks, which are approved by the ATCP. But I do believe there are plans to have water hookups on those. That is, I guess, additional information we can obtain from the applicant. That sites are to be operational from the public or operational to the public from April 1st to December 1st. That a manager or designee be available 24 hours per day. The quiet hours are to be from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. every day, and that no fireworks or the discharging of firearms is allowed unless the discharging of firearms is for personal safety use only. As action by the town board, motion was approved. Laura Rusk, chair, Russell Claggett, supervisor. Unanimously approved, and the Town of Hunter Comprehensive Board meeting and at the Town of Comprehensive Board meeting and the Town of Hunter Board meeting. Signed Patricia Swayfield, town clerk. There were no additional conditions or findings of facts. There were 4 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners within 300 feet. No additional comments were received. That is all.
Okay, thank you. Need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-001. Mr.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman. We go on the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman, a second by Mr. Savitsky to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-001. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We are now in public hearing on CUP number 25-001. Is the applicant here? I see him. Step forward and talk to the committee.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is Don Robinson. I live at 15024 W Highway B, the town of Hayward. And I am the owner of Chip Camp or Lake Chippewa Campground.
Okay. Anything else you wanna tell us?
I got a question, Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mr. Robinson, do you agree with all these 1 through 11 that Jay read off for conditions for approval?
We've
Some of
discussed
them are
that.
pretty, like no fireworks, or you probably do that now with your 229 sites?
We do.
You do, okay.
I didn't see anything additional that would be anything that we had to change.
Okay.
Ms. Wilson.
Thank you.
How big of an area is this proposed primitive sites? How big is it?
In dimension,
Yeah. Is this map to scale?
yeah, no, not really.
So is the density going to be the same density as the other camping sites?
Be less density or whatever.
It looks like it's less.
I'm trying to guess. We've measured it several times. It's about 350 feet by 300 feet maybe, or something like that, or,
And this is going to stay
That's-
primitive, no hookups
oh
and,
no, that's not the plan. That's what we're planning to put in hookup.
well, it says primitive sites.
Yes, but that's what we're hoping to be able to do is, they're primitive until we can afford to do something else. And the demand is there, whatever, we're looking at, wondering how much demand we would have with primitive sites versus having something with electric. And we're finding that electric is almost a necessity. Almost all the campers want electricity if they only have a coffee pot.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, does anyone out there want to speak in favor of this CUP? Mr. Bodenschott?
Adam Bodenschatz, 9948 Northwood Creek Lane, Hayward, Wisconsin. As most of you know, we own Cisco's Resort just down the street, and we are in the campground industry as well. And when it comes to providing our area with additional sites, we agree with Mr. Robinson that there is lots of demand for our area. And just looking at Mr. Robinson's property, he's taking very well care of it. That is what we've seen. And we think that he's going to continue to do so. And we'd encourage everyone to vote for this. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, anyone else want to speak in favor? Ms. Zilmer?
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner, Village of Birchwood resident, not in favor or in opposition, but I think, again, this highlights the process concerns that I keep bringing up is when is an application complete and when is it accurate? I've understood that there should probably have been dimensional site plans included so that you would know what size area was being served. Also, looking to the definition of primitive, I pulled up at cap 79. I can't find a definition for primitive, but to me, that would suggest no utilities provided. And so I think this application is also confusing. And when if you choose to approve this, are you approving primitive sites or those that will have future utilities? Does the applicant then have to come back? Again, towns are making decisions based on only the information they are provided, and if it's not complete, then it's up to you to figure this out. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else out there want to speak? Step forward.
Steve Bowden, Shots 8555 and Deerfoot Road, Hayward. Again, my son and I, we own Cisco's Resort. Don Robinson and his family have done an excellent job with this campground. Very good screening from the highway, very good setbacks from the lake. They run a good operation. And whether they have 11 primitive sites or full improvement sites, it doesn't really matter. Their soils in that area are the same as ours, very sandy, very applicable for septic systems if they need to put a septic system in for those sites. So I don't think that should be an issue. So we are a neighbor a couple of miles down the road, but we're in favor of this.
Thank you. All right, anyone want to speak in opposition? Okay, not need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-001, please. Mr. Schuman.
Oh, I'll make that motion and come out of public hearing, sir.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Mr. Kiriainen to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-001. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action for the Town of Hunter conditional use permit number 25-001, owner Chip Camp LLC. Legal description is previously read into record. The combined total of all land is approximately 87.5 acres. The permit is requested for 11 additional camping sites. Those are located on tax IDs 41979 and 15458 for a total of 240 sites as per the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.8, Parent B, Parent 3. Just as I guess, a little bit of a clarification for the committee, you definitely want to, reference, if you are going to make a motion for approval, to reference the staff report as list of potential conditions. And as part of the potential conditions, I purposely leave off that the map is included as part of, the site layout. We find many times that, they may, have had, desires that this is where, sites would be located. But this one in particular, they had relocated 4 sites. There were 2 sites that were really close to the water. They were experiencing some erosion issues within that area. They didn't want to have the sites crammed right onto, there was an old point or peninsula that was out there. There was also kind of a boat landing area. So they removed 4 sites in those locations and then relocated them. Now, if this committee wants to, condition approval of maps, you're really handcuffing the applicant that we approve the map and you can't relocate a site with us telling you where it has to be. As long as it meets the setbacks within the ordinance requirements, that's why I specifically leave those conditions off of a staff report. Now, if this committee wants to determine where the sites be located and that the applicant is exactly where he says he wants to be on the map. Well, you can add that condition in there, but again, that's why I purposely leave it off. You're permitting the total number of sites. You're permitting the location operation of a campground. And as long as you're meeting all other conditions as specified in the ordinance, which again, that is a condition of approval, all other state, federal, county laws being the ordinances, it's how much more in depth do you want to get with site location and setbacks, as long as, again, it meets those other ordinance requirements. Again, primitive versus full hookup, do you want to get into those discussions? As long as the full hookup meets other state, federal codes, be it our sewer system ordinance, be it DSPS for the wastewater treatment facilities, does this committee again want to, dictate that they have to be primitive or that you're allowed full hookup? So just a matter of clarification there.
Well, I wouldn't think they would want primitive anymore.
Right, so that's why you don't necessarily want to condition approval of the map
Okay.
that was presented. You're right, not in this type of scenario.
All right. Ready, Mr. Schumer?
All right, Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve CUP number 25-001 with Jay's staff report, possible conditions 1 through 11, findings of facts 1 through 13, except number 4. Okay, Kathy?
Got it.
All right, that's my motion, sir.
All right, Mr. Savitsky.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Mr. Savitsky to approve CUP number 25-001 with the finding of facts. And then Jay's staff report also. Any more discussion? Not, Kathy, we have roll call, please.
Tweet Schuman.
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Steve Carriennen.
Yes.
Marshall Savitsky.
Yes.
Kay Wilson. All in favor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, number 5, we're in the new business. Zoning department year-end updates.
Yeah, so for the 2024 completed goals, we did update our Novus software program. This would include scanned documents that are linked to individual parcels. This information is available to everyone. It's not just unique to department staff. So this has helped us tremendously from prospective landowners and or realtors calling us up and saying, well, what's the sewer system on that property? What do they have a soil test? Well, all that information is available now at your fingertips. So it has saved us quite a bit of that busy work that we were experiencing before. We have completed the state audit for sanitary permits. We exceeded anticipated revenue for the budget amount. We have hired and trained 3 new staff members and replaced other department vacancies. One of those staff members that we had trained in also then took a lateral transfer to another department. So 3 additional new staff members over the course of 2024. We've updated and revamped the department handouts, which includes FAQs in the public hearing process. All these PDFs are available on our website. If you haven't had a chance to check out the Sawyer County zoning website recently, definitely get on there. There's been quite a bit of changes on there. And we do have some additional graphs and trend lines from permits issued, which I'll have on the next page. As part of kind of our 2025 tasks, we are looking at hiring an additional zoning department staff member. Transition has already started, that we have made our current administrative assistant the new zoning technician. And then within the next month and a half to 2 months, we are looking at rehiring the administrative assistant position so we can get that individual kind of fully up to speed as road bans start coming off, which is kind of our starting point of the construction season. So we are working through ordinance amendment processes focused around multi-dwelling development in conjunction with the newly formed ad hoc committee. We completed we do need to complete an ordinance amendment process as far as updates from the state, as far as the state shoreland, the state model shoreland ordinance. DNR has kind of given us a deadline in which we need to adopt some additional language into that model ordinance. So hopefully, as time permits, we will start seeing that process come through as well for that ordinance amendment update. We also are looking at doing updates to our model floodplain ordinance. This has been somewhat of an endeavor. Right now, the state and be it FEMA, as far as the floodplains go, we have an appendix as to where we have a lot of our floodplain data shown for individual lakes. DNR wants us to move those regional flood elevations out of our appendix and into the official map section. When those RFEs, regional flood elevations, were initially approved, though, they weren't necessarily approved to their liking at the state level, and this goes back like 20, 30 years, back into the Frank Pratt era. So there's been a process as to how DNR is going to allow us or wants us to move the appendix section into the official map section. I've been having conversations with DNR and their floodplain coordinators for better half of 2 years, trying to smooth out how that process is going to work, and still have not had any official updates from them. So we are also in the process of updating our citation ordinance. With the update to the citation ordinance, enforcement action is presumed to increase then. And we are introducing, hopefully within the next couple months, we'll see if we can get it fired up before kind of the start of the busy season, but kind of having a more online form fillable permit as part of the zoning department permits. Land use permits might be a little bit difficult because there are so many, intricacies with land use permits, especially when it deals with shoreline properties. But we'd like to, still get at least our fire numbers as a form fillable online submittal process. So, as far as permit trend lines, we do have that information included in several of our charts. For the, I'd have to count, but better half of the last 15 years, we are exponentially exceeding our land use permits from the previous year. You can see here, back to, 2019, 488 land use permits, 2020, 476. And then that's right around that, for whatever reason, I'll just call it the COVID time. We saw a huge increase, and we've been seeing an exponential increase over the last 5 years now. And now I have to do a different scroll technique. This is programs. So you can see again our permit trend lines here over the last several years. And then this one here as well, kind of showing our permit trend line. So that's kind of my year-end update report to the committee, and I'll share this information with the chair then to relay to the full county board. Any questions on item A of new business?
Well, I guess, Jay, I just want to make sure that this increase in permits is still keeping the county budget neutral as far as the staff you have to add. And is revenue from these permits offsetting your staff or keeping your staff on board? And
it would never be, totally net neutral from the amount of revenue that is generated from permits as to the entire department. But it is anticipated that with the new zoning technician position and the additional enforcement that position is going to be tasked with, that position would be net neutral. Yes.
Thank
you. Okay. Any additional questions on that one? Then we have a new business item from last month. We had heard a individual requesting to look at the camping ordinance portion of the Sawyer County ordinance, specifically related to camping cabins. Our current language is highlighted here. So camping cabins, for what we have as a definition, is the construction, placement, installation, or use of a camping cabin shall be by land use permit only into a licensed campground. Camping cabins shall not exceed 300 square feet in area and shall not exceed 12 feet in height, and the connection to or installation of gas, water, or sewer shall be prohibited. Camping cabins shall not have a second story or loft. The request that we heard from an individual from the public was to remove language specifically related to the installation of water within camping cabins. I do have this just as a discussion item right now. I have looked at some of the other definitions from adjacent counties as well as what DACCAP has for their definition. So DACCAP's definition is found in ATCP 79.03 paragraph 4. A camping cabins means a building or structure that is 400 square feet or less in area. A camping cabin includes a yurt, but not a tent. It doesn't include a recreational vehicle, a tourist rooming house, a mobile home, or manufactured house. So they have a very, sweet, simple, to the point definition. It doesn't address water, gas, sewer, et cetera. They've actually, increased the size from 300 square feet to 400 square feet. They don't really put a height limitation on it or second story loft. Of all the other adjacent counties, the only other one that I could find within our immediate vicinity that still has some type of disallowance of plumbing was from Burnett County. They still have in their ordinance that a camping cabin or yurt is not served by plumbing or electricity. All the other counties, including, Washburn and Bayfield, I didn't get a chance to view them all, but they basically, the majority of the rest of our adjacent counties default to the ATCP 79 definition, where it doesn't mention that connection to water, gas, sewer is prohibited. So I do have some draft language if that is what we potentially want to go with. That draft language. I hate this website so much. Yeah, it's on the agenda. So it's the red line version here. And I'm sure it's way back up here. Yeah. So basically what I've done is, at least for the draft version, is take the state definition. So the red line that you see here for the definition of within the ordinance is section 2, parent 15 would be the state definition. And then when it later refers to camping cabins in our 6.610, again, to elimination of the prohibition of gas, water, sewer, increase of the size from 300 square feet to 400 square feet to mirror DACCAP's definition. And then the height, we initially have in our ordinances is a 12-foot height. I went to 14 feet in height. And the only reason why I picked 14 is that is where we have other exemptions for storage sheds. We allow up to 14 feet in height for a storage shed. I would assume that camping cabins, even 300 square foot camping cabins nowadays, the design process is a little bit different. They may have, just larger pitches on some of these roofs. We could certainly, state that, a second story or loft is still not allowed, but 12 feet when you start talking about it is not that tall. That's two of me stacked up. That's not a lot of height. I wish I was 6 foot. I'm 5'10" and a half, but no, 2 3/2. No. And again, this is just a draft. This is not as a discussion action item. This is just as discussion only. But from here, it would be, what does the committee want to see moving forward? If you are so inclined that you like some of this language, ultimately we would bring it back as a discussion action item next month. That action then would be to send out a draft language to the towns. The towns would then hear it at their town board meetings and either say yay or nay back to us, at which point we would schedule for a public hearing process. If approved at the public hearing process, would then go to county board for ratification. So.
Okay.
Jay, are we consistent with other DACCAP definitions and? with some
I
of our other
just
things?
looked at the camping cabins at this point,
Okay.
just so I could actually get some language prepared for this meeting. If you want me to.
No, I just like consistency. I
Mhm.
mean, instead of all over the board.
So, I'm okay with what you got here, Jay. I don't know about the rest of the committee. I would think we could go with what you got there and bring it back next meeting for discussion action item. What does the committee think on that?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that language was ever, put in there initially. It was before my time. Maybe these would be to be more primitive, but the camping world, whether it's, camping cabins or park model trailers has certainly seen a boom in that industry. as long as these camping cabins are hooked to code compliant sewer systems, that's my major, concern is that, that if they are hooking up pressurized water, having plumbing facilities within these camping cabins, then obviously they need proper sanitation for the disposal of the wastewater. And as long as they're getting that, I don't see why it would have ever been a prohibition to begin with. But we do have one public comment if the chair wants
Yes,
to recognize that.
Yeah, I think Mr. Bodenschat wanted to speak on it too.
Again, Adam Bodenschatz, 9948 Wood Creek Lane, Hayward. Probably going to mirror a lot of what Jay had already talked about, but a couple of things that we've seen in the industry is that trends do change, and we have seen a lot of people wanting to rent smaller cabins and not the big lake homes, that kind of thing. We do have some smaller cabins at Cisco's, not camping cabins as per the definition of the zoning ordinance here, but I guess what I'm getting at is any flexibility that we can have in our industry or in any industry, we look forward to offering opportunities to provide different products, that kind of thing. The way that the current ordinance reads is it's a glorified tent in my mind with rigid walls. That's not what the industry is looking for from what we're seeing. So adding water and sewer, increasing the size to the 400 square feet, which is what maximum size for an RV can be anyway. I think that follows in consistency with campgrounds in general. And as far as the loft thing, I'm not so sure I agree with the no loft thing. If it's in that 400 square feet or 300 square feet, whatever you guys decide, and the height is there, I don't know what the difference is. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Zilmer?
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner, Birchwood resident, and part of the reason that the Sawyer County zoning ordinance reads as it does is this was intentional because it was intended to keep in prior permitting of campgrounds, something similar to what you would envision a KOA has. It's a shell. It does not have any of the amenities. And also they wanted to restrict any sleeping in a loft area. So and I just hate to see this jump ahead when the county has spent over 2 years not being able to get other ordinance amendments through. I think this maybe should fall to the ad hoc committee because it also gets to density of development, both on and off shoreland, because basically these are tiny homes. If they are complete with kitchen, bathroom, hooked up to utility, you basically have tiny home resorts. And it's not just simply changing a definition of camping cabin to be a tiny home park model community. It's camping cabins are shells, and a new definition probably needs to be developed for what I don't even know what everybody envisions in their mind what a camping cabin is, but please put this on the back burner or put it in addition to the work that the ad hoc committee is doing because it's all addressing the same type of concerns on development and impacts.
Okay, thank you. Oh, wow. Yeah. Ben?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Benjamin Kurtzwell again. And I'll make this quick. My only concern with this is I kind of agree with the camping cabins, these bare shells. From my experience as assessors, I have seen people who tried to build 400 square foot deer cabins that have then been told by zoning that it's too small and they have to build a loft above it. So, or there was a group of girls down in Draper who lived in I don't know what you'd call it, but it was kind of like a soup can standing on its end made out of mud. And the argument the zoning said it wasn't big enough. So I'm just worried about we're gonna start having confusion where we're gonna have a minimum size for residences, I believe, are 500 square feet. And now we're gonna have camping cabins that are hooked up to water, sewer, gas, maybe eventually, that are gonna be under 500 square feet. So it seems like we're opening up this door to have conflicting statements in our ordinance again, where we can have A house has to be 500 square feet minimum, even a deer cabin that may not have all the amenities, but someone can hook up a camping cabin to water and sewer and gas that's 400 square feet. So I'm just saying that to me is kind of confusing for my understanding of the current ordinance with square footage requirements. So thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Steve Bowden, Shots 8555 and Deerfoot Road, Hayward. We own several campgrounds in southern Wisconsin, around Wisconsin, Dells, Fort Atkinson. And we have built camping cabins down there, and in those counties, we're allowed to build up to 400 square feet, which is the maximum size for the RVIA code. And we have an RVIA code licensed state inspector inspect the water, sewer, construction, and put the RVIA sticker on and a permit number on it. So there's a process in place in our state to have code compliant camping cabins. And yes, they have a small kitchen and they have a bathroom, they have a shower, and they need to be hooked up to proper water and sewer facilities. So there is a process for that if they're built to the RVIA standard. Of course, all of our camping cabins we have are in licensed campgrounds, and licensed campgrounds that are approved by Department of Agriculture and fully licensed and permitted. So I just want to clarify, the 400 square feet should be the definition of a camping cabin. You get over that, you have to get into the HUD code. That's a whole different story. That's in the mobile home stuff, but 400 square feet and under is the code for RVA, a camper, RV recreational vehicle in Wisconsin, in the US. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Number C.
I got one more there, hand up.
Oh, go ahead.
While Don's walking up there, I should mention that camping cabins, as specifically outlined in the ordinance, is only allowed in licensed campgrounds. And they would be as a specific site number. I guess it would be up to this committee as whether or not you would allow for, let's take Don's place for example. He's permitted for 240 sites. He also does have a conditional use permit that did allow him to place several camping cabins out on that property. Could his 11 primitive sites be used as camping cabins, or would you want to see a request specifically for the increase in camping cabins? Now, if we had a new campground come in and said, I'm going to have 20 RV tent sites, but I also want 8 camping cabin sites, I think that's fine. You can say, okay, you're gonna have, 28 sites, 8 of them which can be camping cabins. But that's something we should consider is, if Don wants to have 240 camping cabins out there now, does he need an additional conditional use permit to do that? Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Don Robinson, 15024 W Highway B in Hayward. My interest in this is primarily for licensed campgrounds. I'm not advocating for countywide, whatever. That's something that somebody else should take up. My idea, I expressed the fact that most of the people that like or rent camper cabins, they are usually an extended family, usually young people that don't yet afford or can't afford trailers or whatever else they might want, or they're older people who don't camp enough anymore or whatever, that they have a trailer, so they want to camp and they don't want to stay in a tent and sleep on the ground. So they want to be with the family when the family goes on vacation. And so that's where a biggest part of this market is really for people in an extended family situation. As I've expressed before, when you get to be a little older and you have to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom, and you have to get all dressed up and whatever and walk down to the shower house to go to the bathroom, and some people might have to do that 2 or 3 times in the night, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, just because somebody wants to impose some rule that makes it inconvenient for others, I just don't understand it. And other counties they've done something different, and their rule isn't just to campground. it doesn't just address campgrounds, it's countywide. So we're just asking the county here to reconsider that aspect from a campground standpoint. So that's.
Okay, thank you. Right now, number C.
So I'll bring language back to the committee, to then have a discussion action item to move that on to the town. So, so letter C here, so this is in relation to a letter that, I believe the committee received from the town of Hunter. I also received this letter from the town of Hunter. They were, seeking a cease and desist on land use permits that were issued on a separate lot. So I have had initial conversations back with the town clerk of the town of Hunter. I've had conversations with legal counsel. I've also had conversations with the property owner on this. So just to inform the committee, it is being, looked at, it is discussed. There are probably going to be some order for corrections that are going to be needed, but as far as the cease and desist, I would not be able to, be able to issue that, in that the conditional use permit was approved for a campground and an expansion of the campground. There is a separate vacant lot in which was not part of the conditional use permit, which they're wanting a cease and desist on those land use permits because of issues with the conditional use permit. They are two separate things. And in conversations with legal counsel, that we really shouldn't be issuing a cease and desist. That'd be that, that Kay has issues on her property here in town, so I should, prohibit her from doing something out, on her property on Placid Lake. They're two separate issues. So we are working through those, and if the committee wants additional information to that, I guess let me know if you want it as a new business item in the committee format, or if you want just conversations or transcripts sent to you via email.
Email would be fine.
Okay. Yep. As far as any other new business, I got two little quick points. I'll try to make it short and sweet here. We had heard from the town of Hayward chair about special use permits. Per the Sawyer County zoning ordinance, and maybe I can bring it up here real quick. But as part of the Sawyer County zoning ordinance, we had submitted a special use application to the town of Hayward. Part of the initial one requested that all 20, I believe it was 21 sites. If it was 22, I'm not sure. It was 21 or 22. As part of kind of as a blanket coverage for approval to build a residential structure within a forestry zone district. At that point, the town chair had concerns with being able to approve all 21 as part of one request, and had basically tasked me to ask our legal counsel on whether or not the town could do that. In conversations with legal, they had some issues with them giving the town an opinion when that is specifically a town matter. So at that point, I then submitted 21 separate requests to the town, requesting that they hear these as special use permits. Now, as part of our ordinance language, there is no, allowance for, a blanket coverage. So I had agreed with the town chair that, no, maybe you shouldn't hear these as blanket coverages. So again, sent the 21 additional requests. I'm trying to find the language here. Give me a second. Yeah. So we sent the 21 separate requests. Now, the town chair had indicated that he was under a policy or a practice that land use permits are submitted with those requests. That is not contained in ordinance language. The application for the special use shall be made to the zoning administration, which it was, and then was forwarded to the town board for their review and approval. Upon approval of the application, the special use application by the town board, the application shall be submitted to the zoning administrator. In addition to the information required, the zoning administrator would submit other pertinent data or necessary information, including the land use permit. So we can then issue the land use permit after the town, but nothing in ordinance language states that a land use permit needs to be submitted to the town. Is that a practice that we've done before? Perhaps, but it is not specified in ordinance that a land use permit has to go. At that point, I would say it is at the town's discretion if they want to have additional information presented to them in which they table or deny the application because they don't have that information. But it again is not something that is stated in ordinance, where again, the blanket coverage wasn't stated in ordinance, so we sent 21 applications. And if you want to go by letter of the law and practice, letter and law of practice of the ordinance does not require a land use permit be submitted to the town. So I'll leave it up to this committee is if you want to set some practice or policy, we can do so. But as of right now, land use permits do not need to be accompanied with special use applications. They are just to allow after review consideration for building as a residential structure within an agricultural 1 or forestry 1 zone district.
So Jay, are you saying that the blanket permit that the town of Round Lake passed is not legal?
I'm not saying it's legal or illegal. It's not something that's contained in here. The town of Round Lake submitted a blanket coverage, and unless that's further challenge, I would say that you're fine with that. I've not heard anyone object to that. And again, this is all in relation to a plat that was approved at the town level, a plat that was approved at the zoning committee level with the full intention that these are to be 5-acre lots that all are anticipated to have residential builds on them that meets all of their county setbacks when it comes to the land use permits for setbacks from property lines, that covenances are to be recorded on the plat. Where does it stop at that point? So I think the town is definitely fine with what the town of Round Lake has done, so.
Okay, all right, good.
And just one other quick one as far as, process and timelines, because we had heard that as well. We had heard an individual this morning state that, applicants or neighbors were not aware that plan commissions were meeting. Applicants and adjacent property owners within 300 feet are sent notification letters well in advance of the plan commission meetings. And within those letters, it in highlighted bold lettering states, please contact the town as you may be attended to require the plan commission meeting or to obtain additional information. I don't know what else you want me to include in those letters unless you wanted me to write down all the dates and times of the meetings, which always end up changing somehow.
Right.
And or contact numbers for every plan commission member, but they have the town clerk's number. And if they need more information as to when those planning committee meetings may be held, reach out to your town clerks for that information.
I agree with that part.
I agree that you are doing the job that you need to do, and it's the public's responsibility to find out when those meetings are.
Thank you, Kay.
I agree.
All right. Nothing else? I want to thank everybody. Good meeting. We are adjourned.
Thank you,
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thanks, Rebecca.